Then Shazulu talks about how angels are called gods, but they're not really gods. Well, he quotes Psalms chapter 97, verse 7, in New American Bible Version brings out, "All who serve idols are put to shame, who glory in worthless things. All gods bow down before you." He acknowledges that these are angels, but he is not consistent thinking these are false gods. This is clearly showing these angels are not false gods, but angelic beings called gods. Why are angels called gods? Well, because they, like Jesus, shares Jehovah's nature. Now, Shazulu would disagree with this because this is one of his main points to try to prove Jesus is equal to God, but his reasoning is just false. John chapter 4 verse 24 says, "God is a spirit," as Jesus explained. And in Psalm 104 verse 4, it states that Jehovah making his angels spirits. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14, "Are not all angels spirits in the divine service?" These verses are clearly showing how Jehovah and his angels are spirit beings, having a divine nature. I would agree with Shazulu that Hebrews chapter 1, 2, and 3 shows Jesus having the supremacy over angels, or supremacy over these divine beings, or supremacy over these other gods by nature. But only because Jesus, God and Father Jehovah gave him this position. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 9. "You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions." This is showing no matter how supreme Jesus is, he is never the head or equal to his God and Father. Now it's true that Jehovah calls Jesus God in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8, but of the Son he says, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever." But notice, Jehovah never addresses Jesus as my God. Like Jesus constantly calls the Father his God. Jehovah calling Jesus God doesn't mean he's equal to him either, because he calls angels and human gods such as Moses. Jesus having the supremacy throughout the whole universe is rightfully called mighty God, because Jehovah has never put anyone in Jesus' status. Even though Jesus has the supremacy throughout the universe, he is still subject to his God. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 3. Is Jesus just a God like Moses or the angels? Absolutely not. He is second position to his God and Father, Jehovah. Jesus is the firstborn of all creation. So if angels and men can be properly called gods, Elohim, there should be no objection that Jehovah's firstborn is called mighty God. After all, Jehovah has given him all authority in heaven and earth. Shazulu is right on one point, that the Bible speaks of one true God, and it's so clear that it's the Father. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 6. There's actually to us one God, the Father. So some will say, well, if you read on, the Bible calls Jesus Lord. So does that mean Jehovah isn't Lord? Of course not. The proper question should be, since Jesus is given all this authority, was he also given the title Lord? Acts chapter 2 verse 36 answers that question for us. "Therefore, let the entire house of Israel know with certainty that God has made both Lord and Messiah, this Jesus whom you crucified." So if God had to give Jesus this position and title of Lord, how much so he gave Jesus the title Mighty God. Jesus is more than just a God. He is mighty God, second position to his God and Father Jehovah. But when Jesus is in the presence of Jehovah, he's only a God, because Jehovah is El Shaddai, God Almighty.